Behind me, I've got my 1972 Jeep Commando. It has a custom 3-link in the front, a double triangulated 4-link in the rear. And in this video, I'm gonna cover the 5 things you need to know when it comes to linking your classic 4x4. Money worm. Let's dive right into the 5 things you need to know when it comes to 4-linking your classic 4x4. All right, here we go. Now, if you've got a different opinion, that's all right. Leave some comments below on some things I might have missed, some things you don't agree with. I'm always in the mood to learn a little bit. This is my first 4-link, and I can say it handles amazing. It drives down the road, no problem. 80, one finger on the steering wheel, cruises down the interstate. Really well. I've gotten it out, flexed it a little bit. It flexes really nicely. I've yet to test it because I'm in the middle of re-gearing my front axle, but soon enough we'll know how well this entire package works. Now, let's dive into exactly what I think are the top 5 things for linking your classic 4x4. Number 5, you've got to choose the right components. Now, this might be a little bit tricky. Really, it changes a lot depending on what you're using it for, the type of vehicle, a lot of the other kind of things all are going to factor in. One of the things you need to consider, what types of joints am I going to use? Are you going to use a Heim joint, something that might be a little bit more rigid, a little bit more durable, but usually is going to transfer those vibrations into the vehicle. And so if you're daily driving, that might not be the way to go. Alternatively, you might do a rubber bushing joint. Those might wear out quicker. Or somewhere in the middle, like a Johnny joint, an enduro joint, where it has a rubber bushing and still has plenty of flex and rotation built into that joint itself. When I linked the back of the crusty Commando, the frame is super narrow. And so with that created some other issues. And so what I ended up doing there is actually ordering a narrower joint that actually had a built-in 10-degree angle in it. So when I was going through planning, going through packaging, going through all the things that I'm about to talk about, that was one of the considerations, was making sure I picked the right joints for my application. The next thing you might need to consider when it comes to choosing the right parts, are you gonna do coil springs, coil overs? I've seen some people do airbags. How are you gonna support the weight of the vehicle, and what's gonna package best for your particular setup? Then after that, considering what types of links, in the back of mine, I found a really good deal on a set of aluminum lower links. I use steel upper links. In the front, I use 2-inch quarter wall DOM lowers with 1.75-inch 120 wall uppers. So, it kind of all depends on budget. There's a lot of different constraints, but you need to make sure you choose the right materials for your project. Do you need a sway bar? All of those things, really try to think through what materials are gonna fit on your project, and then what your budget is gonna look like. Number 4, I kind of hit on this with number 5, but for number 4, you really need to account for packaging constraints. So all these vehicles, they're all gonna be a little bit different. The frames are gonna be different, where gas tanks are, where motor mounts are, where really everything is placed from a vehicle, from the factory, is gonna vary greatly. So many things are going to impact how well you can design your 4-link, where things need to go, and how you're gonna package it all together. So number 4, account for packaging constraints. I've seen some where, like the newer JKs, the gas tank runs a full side, so oftentimes in the back they might have to run a 3-link instead of an actual 4-link. I've seen some wishbone 4-link, 3-link type considerations, however you want to label that. So again, there's lots of those types of things. As I mentioned a minute ago, the whole frame on the Commando is really narrow. And so Frenching in the mounts into the frame gets me a little bit more room for triangulation, but it also creates some issues with, you might not have as much space between the frame rail and the transmission, or the transfer case and the transmission, or all these different things. Where is exhaust gonna route? So really think through the packaging of your 4-link and how it's gonna interact with exhaust, drive shafts, cross members, gas tanks, all those different things, motor mounts. How is all of that gonna package and play nicely so that you can design the perfect 4-link? Number 3, I would say the next thing to do with your four link is to make sure to incorporate adjustability. Now on mine, both the front and the back upper control arm mounts have 3 different holes, so I can adjust the anti-squat, anti-dive anywhere from about 50 all the way up to, I think it's about 85 or 90. So I get a pretty wide range of anti-squat numbers, both the front and the rear, or anti-squat, anti-dive numbers in the front and the rear. And so with that, it allows me to hopefully in the future fine tune how this whole thing is gonna handle. In the front, I actually use some adjustable coil spring mounts. So what that does, it allows me to kind of fine tune the ride height. You know, you might be able to incorporate ways to adjust where your coilovers mount. So you could get maybe different angles on your coilovers, different ride heights. Again, it's kind of fine tuning everything once you get out there and you're using it. And so being able to incorporate some of that adjustability while you're designing and building the four link is pivotal, because that will save you some headache in the future without having to completely cut everything apart and redo it. You have that opportunity to fine tune and adjust the details of your four link suspension. Make sure you get adjustable joint ends. Being able to adjust that pinion angle, adjust the control arm links is gonna be really helpful as well. So all of those little things like that where you can incorporate adjustability, maybe it's limit straps, making their different attachment points. I've seen some where you can take the limit straps and they have a threaded end on them so you can make the strap shorter or longer. I think all of those things come really in handy, especially if it's your first time building a 3 or 4 link suspension. When it came to number 2 and number 1 on my list, it was a little bit tricky to decide which goes where. So, you know, you might disagree and that's okay.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
But for me, I put number 2 is plan your suspension geometry. Now this is something I spent a lot of time with, really dove in, grabbed a cheap computer, grabbed an Excel, grabbed a 4-link calculator and just played with the numbers again and again and again and again. Suspension geometry until I could figure out what works best with my package constraints, the build materials I'd chosen, the type of wheeling I want to do, and the way I wanted my vehicle to handle. I really spent a lot of time planning out the geometry. This part really, I think, is one of the most daunting and overwhelming portions of it, but I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some general guidelines to follow and some things that I really found insightful and it's things that I think helped go ahead and make this whole thing a little bit less daunting. So the first one, anti-squat, anti-dive. So with those, you basically never want to go over 100%. If you're shooting anywhere from that 80 to 100%, that's gonna work really well if it's more of a dedicated rock crawler. Anywhere from 50 to 80, I'm told, works really well for a multi-use rig. And then 50 below is gonna be really fast, go fast, desert type driving. So think about how you wanna use it. Again, build in some adjustability. In mine, in the fronts, I think they ended up being 60% all the way up to 90%. So I have lots of tunability, and then in the back, it's very similar. I'll go through the ins and outs of all my numbers and all the suspension design in a future video, but just to give you a rough idea, those are the ranges that you want to shoot for when it comes to your anti-squat and anti-dive numbers. Now the next piece, your roll center and your roll axis. Typically with this, or at least what I was told and the things I shot for, is that you want your roll center to be taller in the rear than it is in the front. It'll keep things nice and stable. You want your roll center to be below your center of gravity, and then you want your roll axis to be neutral or slightly negative, and so that will be your roll steer, your understeer. You want to build in a little bit of understeer into your vehicle if at all possible. Now I'll admit the front has a little bit of oversteer in mine. I just could not for the life of me get it to package well and get to that understeer number. In the back, I was really close to a 0 or right at an understeer number in the back. So I did achieve that and offset it a little bit. For your control arms or your links, your 4 links, some general guidelines for that is that you want your lower links to be anywhere from that 30 to 40 inches. You want the upper links to be 60 to 75% of the lower link length. So you want your uppers to actually be a little bit shorter. That keeps your suspension number travels very uniform throughout the entire suspension travel. Then when it comes to separation at the axle, you're gonna want 7 to 10 inches, or another given guideline is 25% of your tire diameter. When it comes to the frame, you probably wanna shoot somewhere in that 3 to 5 inches of separation. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is to prioritize your geometry over your link lengths. So if you have really long links and really poor geometry, 4x4 is going to handle really poorly. So you want to make sure that the geometry aligns with what you're wanting, how you want it to handle, and your packaging constraints. So prioritize those things. Obviously as well, the flatter the links are at ride height, the smoother it's going to be throughout the suspension travel, the less change you're going to have there as well. That brings me to the number one point and thing that you need to know when it comes to four-linking your 4x4. Drum roll, the number one thing, don't overthink it, guys. I will say for years, I was intimidated. I was daunted by the idea of building a link suspension on my Jeep, and it honestly kept me from doing it. I just thought, this is way too much to know. This is gonna be way too complicated. There's no way I can understand all of the details. And I will fully admit, I still don't know all of the details, but I can tell you, I know suspension geometry. The Krusty Commando handles amazing. Having the link suspension is night and day better than it was with leaf springs. And the yellow Jeep I have works great. It works really, really stinking well. It's just also a billy goat. It goes really slow. It climbs over things, but there's no way it's going fast through the whoops, through the rocks. This Krusty Commando, when I get out on the trails, it rides great, and I have no trouble going a little bit faster through some of those rough sections. And I would say me just being willing to say, you know what, the worst thing I can do is have to redo it. That is not the greatest approach, but it gave me the confidence to go ahead and get it done and get started. And I will say it's worked out phenomenally. So guys, don't be scared. You can do it. Don't overthink it. Use some of the rough guidelines I gave you. Go ahead and get started. Build in adjustability. Do all these things, and you should have no problem building a really well-working 3 and 4 link suspension for your 4x4. To sum it all up, hit your anti-squat, anti-dive numbers, maintain stable geometry behavior, create flat links, don't make it overly complicated, reinforce your joints, and build adjustability into your suspension design, and you're gonna be just fine. Guys, hopefully this helps you understand what to do when you're designing and building a 4-link for your custom 4x4 application. Leave some comments below on things that you think I got right, things I might have gotten wrong, and things that I might have missed altogether. If you're looking for some other stuff to watch, click on 4-links versus leaf springs. I've got a few other videos talking about suspension. I've got a full breakdown of my 4-link, of my 3-link. And guys, please like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff.
Money worm.